welcome to a new episode of the Yarnflakes Podcast. My name is Audrey and this is a nitty yarny podcast from the southwest of France. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me this week. I hope you are all doing very well. I am. Had better sleep. If it's your first time watching this, hello, welcome. I just had a month and a half of really awful sleep / insomnia, which seems to have peaked last week, where I did fall into the trap of Etsy shopping at midnight. So there you go. However, I did manage to get only things that I kind of wanted for a long time, so it's okay. I guess you will see that in a few weeks when they arrive. But yes, I have skipped a week. There wasn't a podcast last week because when it came, so I record my podcast on Wednesdays. And last week on Wednesday, basically everything that I had been working on was blocking. Because yes, I finished 3 sweaters and yeah, they were all completely wet and blocking. So I decided to just skip last week's podcast. I hope you don't mind. And come back this week with dry sweaters. Yes, so I have a pattern release to talk to you about. I have, the 3 sweaters and I have 2 new work in progress to show you. Only knitting this week, again and again. But yes, so I hope you will enjoy this episode. I will put in the description timestamps to all the different segments of the podcast, so if you want to skip anything, feel free to jump ahead. There are also links to everything that I talk about, as well as my social media. I am Yarnflakes everywhere, and my self-published patterns on Ravelry. So yes, I'm going to need soon to do something about these roots, though I don't really care. Tell me if you mind that I look like I have a splash of ashes on the top of my head. But yeah, I will start with my pattern released. I just published a new colorwork sock patterns on Ravelry, and you have seen it a few times already while I was working on it. It is the Alienor socks. So they're available on Ravelry, and yeah, I did talk about them quite a lot while I was knitting them. So I will just quickly say it's a colorwork sock pattern, which is not a complicated colorwork chart. However, you do need to catch floats on consecutive rows here. I do provide instructions and help for the colorwork in the pattern, as well as sizing information and tools to help you get the right sock size. Yeah, so I knitted mine out of Tukuwool Fingering, which is 100% finish wool, which is a really nice rustic yarn, in the colorways Tuni and Valo. And I have hair absolutely everywhere. Did you notice how hair catches so easily on rustic wool? Yeah, so these are the Alienor socks. All but one of my testers, as I record, have put their projects on the pattern page on Ravelry, so you can go and check their versions because they're really nice. They all shows really different colorways. Some of them are very springy, some of them are so classic, sort of navy and white, black and white, and some of them are a little bit more daring with variegated yarns or a gradient, and they are all really nice and good color inspiration. So yeah, I will put the link in the description, and as usual there is a little release sale for these patterns. So with the code Alienor you can get 20% off the pattern until this Sunday, which is October 7th. So yeah, you all were very enthusiastic about this pattern, and I received really nice compliments as I was making them, so thank you so much. I hope you like them and that you'll consider them if you want to jump into Socktober, because yes, I didn't realize, but it is indeed a thing that you knit hand knit socks in October, so yeah, why not? These are sort of my, really jumping into the autumnal season design release, so and yeah, I said a lot about them as I was making them, so I'm not going to repeat myself again. You can check previous episodes if you want to know more about the constructions. Everything is on the Ravelry pattern page anyway. I also, but you will see if you get the pattern, I also kind of have a new little layout for my patterns. I am making things cleaner and prettier, trying to. I changed computers like a month ago now, more than a month ago now, and so I had to kind of change the format in which I'm writing my patterns to accommodate my new equipment. And so I am currently in the process of revisiting all my patterns and making them look the same. So it's in progress right now, but the Aliénor socks are already all nice and pretty. So that's it for the pattern release, the first pattern release of October. I hope you like them. And yeah, I think I can move on to other finished objects, which are, like I said, 3 and 3 sweaters. So insane. The first one I am wearing is, and I still have a sweater that I started like in May and didn't work on it a bit, but I still managed to make 3 new sweaters in a month. The first one I want to talk to you about is the one that I'm wearing, and I actually put it on just before pressing record, and I didn't, it just got off the blocking, and I actually didn't watch me wearing it, but this is the Rotur sweater by Fibertails, and it's a happy coincidence because Lerge of Fibertails, she just re-released this pattern. So she revisited the sizing and added a lot of I don't know why I'm doing this, and added lots of larger sizes, and yes, I absolutely love it. It is a DK weight sweater featuring this absolutely stunning colorwork yoke, colorwork and brioche yoke, and I really like it. So let me try to show you details. So it has a rolled neckline, which I really like, and then you have this brioche section, which is really interesting, and I think it really pops but still has some sort of a natural classical effect because of how earthy it looks. And then you have the body. I made mine rather cropped, as you can see, and the hem and the cuffs are in a linen stitch. And yes, so last time I showed it to you, I had the body done already, and I just needed to make the sleeves, which I have, and which are really nice. Oh, I wanted to look at my armpit. I wanted to, not enough sleep, guys. That's how I behave when I don't have enough sleep. I wanted to say, because I often get questions on it and remarks, because I do put it in my own patterns, and people have told me, oh, this is brilliant, and I'm like, no, this is normal, why don't you know about it? When you make a top down in the round sweater, you sometimes have holes when you pick up for the sleeves, and there's a couple ways to deal with that. One of them is to leave the tail of yarn that you use to catch this, to start the sleeves, and to then close these holes. I used to do that. I don't like it so much because personally I can never make really neat stitches. You're basically recreating stitches to tighten the hole, and I can never, sometimes it doesn't work and it's not in the same direction as other stitches, so it looks a bit messy. So what I do is I pick up more stitches. You always pick up the amount of stitches that you cast on for the body. You always pick those up because they're included in the normal stitch count, and then I pick up extra stitches on the corner, however many I need for it to be seamless and not have a hole. And then I just decrease, I just knit one round and decrease to the stitch count that I am supposed to have, and this leaves a really nice plain armhole without holes. So yeah, that's what I did for this sweater, and I really love it. It is so nice. I love the fit. It's really comfortable. The sleeves are nice and pretty long. I made it rather cropped. You can't see because I'm so close to the camera, but it just hit my hips. High-waisted jeans as ever. Hello gnomes. And yeah, it is. I'm doing the up and down thing again. I'm exhausting myself. But yes, it fits so well. It is one of the best fitted sweaters I own because it has ease, it's comfortable, but it's not too much ease. I really like wearing, for example, my Sauva Belin sweaters, which is a cabled sweater by Jessica Gore, but this is maybe a little bit too bad. It's nice, I love it, but it's a little bit too loose. But this is just the perfect amount of loose for me. I really love it. I did the size that is now the size M1, and I have 88 centimeter bust. So yes, I love it so much. A lot of you said that it looked really good as I was making it, and I am completely over the moon with the result. It's really beautiful. I think I'm gonna get tons of wear out of it, especially since the yarn is so unbelievably good. So I used, once again, for the contrast color, I also used Tukuwool Fingering in the Uyo colorway. And my main color is Filcolana Gotlandsk in the Rust colorway. And it's a woolly yarn, and when you... Yeah, it's one of the woolier, rusticer yarns, if you wish. It's on the prickier side. It's definitely not something you will think is super nice if you're not used to woolly yarn. It's a bit tougher than Shetland and Holst Garn and things like that, but I'm just wearing as usual, and I think it's always the same. I do wash it, don't worry. My burgundy little tank top that I always put under sweaters, and I have nothing on my arms, like my neckline is really open, and I don't feel it. It's so nice and warm. The last couple of days have been rather chilly here. Autumn is here finally. We're still up into 20-25 degrees in the day, but in the morning it can be like 4 to 5 degrees Celsius, which is such joy. I really like it. And yes, this is warm and soft, and it just got so nice when I blocked it. You know how I was saying, although this is a DK weight yarn, it has 275 meters to 100 grams, it was really thin as I was working with it. So thin, in fact, that it looked identical to my contrast color, which is a fingering weight. But I blocked it, and it is here again, and it is perfect. It bloomed really nicely, and it just makes the most beautiful fabric, and I mean that color. Yeah, Gotland sheep are like silvery grey, and so dyeing over them makes these absolutely beautiful, like metallic kind of shades. I really like it, and I think it goes really well with the pinkish, greyish, mauvish. No one agrees on what that color is, just that it's beautiful. And yeah, I am really happy with this sweater, and it's definitely going to be a top sweater for me. And yeah, so do check it out on Ravelry. As I said, Fiber Tales, she just re-released it. So there are new testers versions, and yeah, you can have a look. I'm going to try and take nice finished object pictures of it and upload them on Ravelry as well. But yeah, it is a beautiful design, and I really like it. So I'm going to keep wearing it. I am trying something new, filming wise. You know how in the past episodes I had really obvious flashes as I was recording from my camera, and I had no idea what those was? Well, my boyfriend told me that maybe it was the software of the camera application on my phone that was doing that. And so he sent me another application, like filming and photographing application, to try to record with, and that is what I did. And it seems like it's not flashing anymore. So Marius, if you're listening, mulțumesc frumos, it's working. It seems. I'm saying that, and now it's going to flash. But yes, yeah, I can move on. You can really see now that I don't edit my podcast that much. Well, I do edit them quite a lot. What I mean is that I don't have segment, and I'm not really chop, and I'm allowing myself to discuss more. You can really see how my brain works. That is all over the place, and I just jump from one topic to another. Is there a saying in English for that? In French, we do say when someone starts speaking about something completely irrelevant to the conversation prior to that, we say that they're moving from rooster to donkey. Passer du coq à l'âne. And that's what I do all the time. And yeah, the problem is I do that when I talk to people as well. Like, they're going to be talking about something to me, and then I'm just going to think about something and say it, and it's completely irrelevant, so it's going to sound like I'm not listening to them, but I am. I'm just all over the place. So, as you can see. My second finished sweaters, it's really 1, 2, 3 sweaters for this episode, is, well, another pattern from Fiber Tales, and it is the cardigan I was test knitting for her. And I'm not going to show it to you completely. I'm waiting for her to release it. I don't know when she will, but whenever she does, I will be showing it to you completely to tell you that it has been released. But yes, I finished the Fjer Cardigan, which I was testing for Fiber Tales, and I really like it. It's again, it's going to be a really nice staple wardrobe, and it's a V-neck cardigan in fingering weight with texture details. Mine is pretty cropped with the boxy fit, and I really like. What happens to my sleeves here? Oh, they're just twisted. And yeah, it's a really flattering shape for me, so I really like it, and it has really beautiful texture details, which I showed you here and there as I was making it. Yeah, I have rather long sleeves compared, like this is already pretty long for me. My sleeves usually are here because I like having my wrists free and I keep pushing my sweaters all the time, so I end up making sweaters that end here because I like my wrist free. So this is already rather long, but the sleeves on my Fjer cardigan are even longer, which is not something I anticipated. Basically the yarn I used grew quite to some extent lengthwise, which is not unreasonably, because it is a non-superwash yarn, but it did grow a little bit, and which is a good thing on the body because it just reached a really nice point, and it just got really drapey and nice. It's Dererum Natura Albertine, so it's 90% merino dalle, organic merino, and 10% mulberry silk in the colorway Crépuscule. So it's the worsted span yarns from Dererum Natura, and I really liked it. I do prefer the woolen span ones for garments, but I think this for a shawl or for like this a cardigan that is going to be like more of a soft, gentle, goes with everything cardigan. I think it's going to be really nice. And I added buttons. These are my little, what's wrong with it? It has little black spots. I added buttons that you can't see because my camera doesn't focus, but yeah, they're just coconut shell buttons with some sort of a fire lasery thingy motif. You will see them better in pictures. It fits really well. I really like it. I made a size M. What else? It's a pieced cardigan. I don't know why I'm going on about it. I will show it to you when it is released. But yes, just to tell you that I did finish this one as well, because here are the sleeves, and yeah, I really like it. I now have one last sweater, and it's another design of mine. It is the Feriga sweater, which I was just talking to you about in my latest episode, which is my next sweater design. Yay! So, I have a couple of things to say about this regarding the sleeves. So, Feriga is a top-down raglan sweater, and it was my first time designing long sleeves. So, I always modify the sleeves to some extent, especially if they're fitted, because I always end up having the decreases placed too high on my arm, and so snug like this is this has ease, so it's not relevant, but with fitted sleeves, if the decreases start on my arm, effectively it just becomes way too tight. It's unnecessary, and then either the decrease portion ends here, which, well, it doesn't work because, as you can see, I still have quite a significant drop in size here, or the decrease sequence is longer, and basically I reach my wrist and I'm not done with the decreases, which is better in my opinion, because you can just stop the sleeves where you reach the right length, and then the stitch count, you can adjust it, or it doesn't really matter, but at least you have a tapered thing up until the end. The reason that is because my arm here, it doesn't change circumference. It's exactly the same. It's fat, it's not muscle, but it's exactly the same. And I then, for like a good, the whole portion of my arm. Then just above, that's my elbow, just here above my elbow, maybe I lose like 1 centimeter, 1.5 centimeters. And then once you pass my elbow, obviously it just I would need decreases, more rapid decreases. And yeah, so I was wondering, because I always hear people saying they had to modify sleeves and do them as they tried them on. And so I asked on Instagram, I'm like, am I the only one with this thing? And so I asked if people could just tell me if their arm was really significantly changing in circumference before the elbow portion. And most of the people didn't. Most of the people were in the same situation as I did. Some people had a more significant drop here, basically. It was about 50-50 between the people who could get away, like me, with no shaping until the elbow, and some people who needed a little bit just above the elbow. But most people told me I really don't need for fitted sleeve, because obviously if it's a sleeve with ease like this, you want it's more flattering if the decreases start in the arm, because then it makes a really nice line. But if they're fitted, most people told me, no, I don't need to decrease here, it just becomes too tight. And so I decided, okay, well, I'm designing my first long sleeves. I'm going to try to, well, tailor it to myself, and at the same time, like I always like to do, give people who are going to read my pattern the possibility to adjust and understand what they need to do. So instead of decreasing from the start, what I did is, my sleeve is bent. Where are my sleeve decreases? Here. So why is this like this? Yeah, might need to reblock that thing. Yeah, there it is. So these are fitted sleeves, so like 0 ease. What I did is that I wrote, just knit until you reach a certain point on your arm, and that's something else. It's rather hard to grade arms in sweaters. It's not that hard, but it's particular because the way grading works is with the bust size, and it's not because you have a bigger bust that you have a longer arm. It has nothing to do with one another. But the problem is, for larger size, you kind of need more decreases. Because it's the same with the neck. Because you have a bigger bust size, it doesn't mean you have a bigger neck. And because you have a bigger bust size, doesn't mean you have, well, you probably have a bigger wrist, but it's not proportionate either. It's, sometimes you may have teeny tiny wrist and still be 110 bust size. It has nothing to do with one another, and so grading sleeves is a bit awkward for different sizes. So what I did is that instead of giving arbitrary measurements, I just said, okay, well, you knit until you reach that point you do that until you reach that point in your arm. What I did is that I placed a couple decreases here, and then the normal decrease sequence starts after the elbow. So this works really well for me. I hope it will work for most people. I will see what my testers have to say about it. This is really bugging me. My sleeve is twisted for some reason. Let me grab the other one. Is it better? No, it's the same. I blocked it like a... I was such in a hurry to block it and take pictures of it to get it to testing, because yes, it is currently being test knitted and people are choosing their yarns, which is really exciting. And yeah, stay here, decrease line, please. So yeah, this was an interesting thing about arm shapes and trying to figure out how I could write instructions that will allow people to have some sort of a guideline, but at the same time enable them to tailor the sleeves to their fit, you know, whether or not they have bigger wrists, whether or not they have long arms, if they need decreases in other points than I do. I'm desperately trying to straighten that sleeve. But yeah, I finished the Feriga sweater. I've showed it on Instagram quickly, but yeah, I'm just going to show you the actual interesting thing of that sweater. There you go. Wickel braid, which I'm putting everywhere, which is this horizontal braid, color work, and then a texture in the cuff, which I really love, and I am going to keep playing around with that because I really like this ribbing. It's like a waffle rib, I think. I don't know, but I really like it. So yeah, the Feriga sweater knitted out of Moike Yarns Elena in natural and brown, and yes, it will come back at the end of November, I think, when it's ready to be published. And I will fold it so that the sleeves stop being silly. I took pictures of it, which I hope are decent. People wanted to test it, so I guess they are. I guess they are. But yeah, I can't wait to see everyone's version. People seem to be picking really interesting yarns. Someone wants to knit it in Bruska. Couple people, I believe, want to knit it out of Lore, the new fiber company yarn, which is really interesting. And yeah, then I've seen some there's a French company, MacLeod, which makes yarn from Britain. No, not Britain, Brittany. My God, Brittany. Sheep and the island of Wesson, which is over there, and yeah, it's a really nice yarn which I really would like to try as well someday. So yeah, looks like we're gonna have interesting choices there. Keeping an eye on them. Chatting away in the test knitting thread. And I think this sleeve is now straight. Or is it? Unbelievable. Yeah, so these are my 3 sweaters that I made sleeves for in the past couple of weeks. I am really happy with most of them, except that one, which is really bugging me with that sleeve roll. There it is. Anyway, I have, I just finished all my whips as a consequence, and I cast on 2 new things which you haven't seen before. I finished all my whips. No, I didn't. I still have my alpaca poncho. Do you want to see it? It's here. It's here. I sometimes pick it up, but for some obscure reason, whenever I pick it up, I just decide, hey, I'm going to revisit all the layout of my patterns instead of knitting on it. But it's so, and it's a funny thing because I don't mind. I'm very unhappy when I have a project on my needles more than like 3 weeks. But this has been going on since May, like I said, and it's fine. I just have accepted that this is a slow going project, and it will be done whenever it is done, you know. It's the Saunders Poncho by Gore that I'm knitting in pure alpaca goodness, because it is a poncho, so it doesn't need to keep shape, and the drape will be sunny. But yeah, I basically probably knitted 2 rows since you last saw it. Yes. New cast on. The first one is going to go rather quickly. I have started my Woolen Honey sweater, which is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, which I'm sure you've seen because it's absolutely stunning. Yeah, I wanted to cast it on since she released it, and I had yarn that I thought would be really nice, so I cast it on. I am knitting it out of Holst Garn Supersoft, my beloved Holst Garn, in the Nougat colorway, which is this very light grey. So it's my woolen Nougat sweater is how I called it on Ravelry, and I have a neckline. This look really small, I agree. Do not worry, I tried it on and it's okay. It's going to be not so close, but still rather round neckline, which I like, so that's good. It's just on 40 centimeter cable right now, so it looks super tiny, but it does fit over my head, don't worry. The pattern calls for a tubular cast on. I started this last night. Tubular cast on at 8 at night. No. So I just did the German twisted cast on. I can't be bothered. But yeah, I think I have enough of her rib now. So it's a garter stitch sweater. So the gauge is 26 stitches per 10 centimeters, and I wanted to get gauge. It's quite convenient because Andrea Mowry and I kind of have the same bust size. So I've noticed that when I knit one of her pattern and I knit the same size as she wears in the model pictures, I get the same result. So it's convenient. So I'm going to knit a small size, and I want it to fit like it fits in her pictures. I don't want it to be too loose. I don't want it to be not loose enough. But yeah, it's garter stitch in a round, which I'm not so comfortable about in a garment. So yeah, good thing that I'm knitting it out of Holst, which is super lightweight, so it's not going to drag as much. Gauge is 26 stitches per 10 centimeters. So I swatched with a different color of Holst because Nougat, well, first I need quite a lot of it for this sweater, and then I knit it for a bunch of other colorway garments, and it's the color that I'm using all the time. And since I have a shop worth quantity of all Garn, I'm exaggerating, but I do have a lot of different colors, I just thought I would swatch in a color that I'm not going to need as much. So this is Marlin, which is really beautiful, really beautiful, and I'm seriously considering using it for a garment because it's this light of, it's a grey blue, but it's really oceany. It's not grey blue cloudy. It's still, it's kind of, yeah, it reminds me of the sea and things like this. I did my swatch in garter stitch in the round, which she doesn't write in the pattern, but you have to swatch in the round. And yeah, it's good. It bloomed really well, and it's nice and squishy, and it's not too loosey gooey. It's, yeah, which is what I wanted, because one, a garter stitch garment, I don't want it to drag and to just look saggy, because garter stitch really expands. Two, it has this honeycomb pattern on it with elongated stitches, and if you don't have a firm background, they're just not going to show. as well, so I think this is good. I am using a much smaller needle size. I'm using 3mm to achieve that gauge, but that's just how I knit. And yeah, I'm going to start knitting. There's some short rows happening, and I can't wait to get to the elongated stitches. But I've been having lots of fun with elongated stitches myself, making swatches. Ugh, can't speak. Making swatches for potential future designs. I feel like it's quite a fun thing to do. You know, there's a lot of traveling stitches at the moment happening, but elongated stitches can be really fun. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting to that. And yeah, it's going to be a really, really nice addition to my wardrobe. I'm going to make it really cropped as well, because that's how I like things. And yeah, so I only have one last work in progress to share with you, and it is a new design again as well. And yeah, I'm not going to show you too much of it, what is happening to this skein. Oh no, it was so well skeined. Anyway, trying to fix it. I was contacted a while ago by Musique, which is a French indie dyer with which I made my Toulouse sweater. They saw it and they liked it, and they told me that if I ever wanted to collaborate with them again, they would love to provide yarn support. And so I was like, yes. The first time I was offered such a thing, and I was really happy about it because I really like their aesthetic. On top of that, after a few weeks later, Guillaume from Musique contacted me again and told me, hey, I just want to give you more precisions on things because they are about to launch a new collection. And what that new collection is non-superwash other breeds yarns. So let's rewind that. Hand-dyed tonals with a beautiful aesthetic, non-superwash, not just merino yarns. When I got that Instagram message, I just was, yes, can you be any more perfect, please? You know, I definitely think that's lacking, and yes, superwash merino is really convenient for a couple of things, and dyeing wise it is interesting, but since a lot of people really like tonals at the moment, especially in the French knitting community, most people really like semi-solids tonal yarns, and there's a lot of dyers that do that, but all of them sort of have the same basis. Superwash merino, like they have 5 or 6 different bases, where the difference is there 15, 20 or 50 or 25% of nylon. No. And yeah, I would like more variety, I really would, and I think there's definitely something to be explored in that sense, because there's more than merino, there's more than superwash, and dyeing wise you can achieve really interesting things. Stuff that, like what Moreview yarn is doing, Hey Mama Wolf, for example, Ovis, etc. All of this. And so I was really happy. So I said yes, absolutely. It gets better because then they told me that this collection has a theme, and again the theme was on point for me to get inspired. And so yeah, I am designing something for them for that collection, which I absolutely love, and I'm really happy that you can see it because I wasn't sure that you were going to see it. Now the color is difficult. The color is difficult. The color is sort of accurate here. Yes, sort of. And if I get closer, you can see what I'm actually doing, which are little cables. So it's going to be a rectangular wrap with little cables. And the yarn I'm using, so... Oh, the color is so good! Look at that! It's a little bit more teal and darker. It's lighter and subtler in real life. But it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So this base is non-superwash grey Falkland. So Falkland is like, it's yarn from the Falkland Islands, and it's either Polwarth or Merino. Polwarth being 7/8 of Merino anyway. But it is like a specific yarn from these islands that is crochet free and like muslin free and non-superwash in that case. And the base on which they dyed is grey, which this is wrong, which makes a really pretty subtle. It's yellower in real life. It's really subtle and rich, and it's, you know, this is what I say. Yes, you can't really speckle a non-superwash yarn, but if you are doing tonals, I mean, why does it matter? Because this is so beautiful, and I think it really deserves a shot. So yeah, this is a fingering weight that I'm using. They're going to have it as a DK, and they're going to have a lot of great other bases like Wensleydale and Gotlandsk BFL and Maston, and a lot of very exciting things. Maison Carlin, if you want to have a look, they do ship to Europe on their Etsy shop. You have to contact them because the shipping fees calculated by Etsy are all wrong, and yeah, they can quote you an appropriate shipping cost. They don't ship overseas, I'm sorry, yet. It's only Europe. But yes, when that collection will release, I will make sure to talk to you more about it, because it's going to be absolutely great and a really refreshing thing as far as bases goes. This is really soft and interesting. It has a really woolly feel to it. It's a 2-ply yarn. It's not loosely plied, it's like a medium. Yeah, it's pretty balanced. It's pretty fine, I find, for a fingering weight. It has 400 meters to 100 grams, but it's pretty fine. I'm knitting on a 3.5 millimeter, and if I try to show you what would be stockinette, yeah, I don't know how we will do on sweaters. I'm very eager to see what happens when a large piece, because this is hopefully going to be rather large, blocks. So yeah, it's a fine fingering, which I like, you know, for shawls and colorwork, dense fabric colorwork. I think this could be really interesting, and I just love that green so much. And yes, I'm making little cables, and I hope my wrap is going to be big enough. I have 3 skeins, I mean, that's massive. It's just that it seems to be eating a lot of yarn. But yeah, this is going to be like the main pattern of the wrap, and then there's something else going to happen. Something that I find interesting is the wrong side of that thing. Usually when you have the wrong side of a cable thing, it's rather lumpy and not so flattering. This almost looks like stockinette, you know, even that my little twisty thing here, it's rather smooth. So it has a smooth wrong side, which is good for a wrap, because that way if it flies over it's not unflattering. But yeah, that's the right side. And I have some seat stitch borders happening. And yeah, I think I've said everything I wanted to say about the yarn so far. It is really a beautiful project, and I'm really eager to see the future of their collection. I have ideas for potential sweaters, because out of all the bases they told me they will have, some of them are really interesting for garments, and I have a few ideas, and they told me they would like me to develop some more. And oh, stitch definition is something. So it's a rather dark color, it's a rather fine yarn, it's super soft, it's really soft, but it definitely isn't a round thread, it's rather flat, and I was afraid it wouldn't show the cables too well, but look. Of course, it's not the pop-in cables when you have a worsted and round multiplied yarn, but this gives the natural subtle texture that I was looking for, and I think it's a pretty decent stitch definition for a yarn like this. So I am really excited to keep working with this and to figure out more about the yarn, and yeah, to see where that wrap goes. And it seems that I am finishing right on time, because I don't know what my neighbors are doing, but yeah, they dig the pool at the end of the summer, because you do that, and now they're bringing ground, like dirt. I don't know what they're doing. Anyway, yeah, I have shared with you everything that I wanted to, and yes, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. I'm sorry if I was a little bit rambly, but yeah, like I said, lack of sleep. But yeah, I don't think I've forgotten anything. So thank you so much for watching this week's episode. I hope you are going to have a lovely beginning of October, and I will see you again next week.